Hello, my name is Jeff Rolka. Thank you for checking out my video. This is questions from comments 59, a question about how to do these exercises, what to look out for in your singing voice so that you're, doing the exercises correctly and you're getting something out of it. Regarding this video, when you said, let's say for the sake of argument your technique is fine, let's say it isn't, because that's my issue. What are common mistakes in technique that cause vocal fatigue much more quickly than it should? Such a good question. Really appreciate that. There are, there's an old saying, I think, that there's, thousands of ways to do it wrong, but one way to do it right. And singing is a bit more flexible than that. There's a lot of things that you can do correctly, and especially once you get into the style of the song that you are singing, you may choose to do a variety of different things in order to serve the needs of that song. But when it comes to the vocalizations, and in particular, I'm talking about the vocal exercises, the warm-ups here on my channel, there are a couple key things, little practices that you can do to make sure that you are getting the most out of the exercises and you are protecting your voice and avoiding certain pitfalls. One of the first pitfalls is trying to sing too loud. So try to sense if you're applying an awful lot of force or too much force. Volume in singing is the result of a well-aligned, well-coordinated system. So when you've got good vowel alignment and your apagio breath management, your breath support is working well, and you have cultivated release such that you've got loads of soft tissue resonance, the volume results out of that. If you try to push into it, at best, you will be delaying your progress. At worst, you're going to stall it completely. So when you are singing the exercises, look to begin with the smallest viable sound. In other words, it's going to be in tune, it's going to sound like the rest of the exercise. So if you're singing in one of my videos, that's not necessarily a soft sound, but I am beginning that exercise with what I would call the least viable sound. It matches in color, it matches in intonation, in other words, I'm singing in tune, the vowel is shaped and formed correctly, all of that stuff, that's your least viable sound. Start there. In other words, avoid singing too loud. You will notice that I did something in that exercise that is something else you can do to get the most out of these exercises. If I sing it again, you'll notice I made a little crescendo. I got a little louder as I ascended, and then I got a little bit softer as I descended. I made a diminuendo. Volume and dynamic changes are also in part tied to the range that we are in. In other words, to maintain a consistent sound quality, we have to increase the subglottic air pressure as we ascend. That change in volume is a reflection of my increase in subglottic air pressure. You can begin this process by thinking about making a little crescendo as you ascend, again, leading from your apagio breath management system, and then making a bit of a diminuendo, getting a little softer as you descend. One of the other major pitfalls that I frequently hear in vocalist technique are glottal attacks at the beginnings of phrases. This is true for vocalizations. It is also true in song singing, and of course it's very easy to do when you're singing a song. What is a glottal attack? It's that kind of a sound that often precedes a phrase when the phrase begins with a vowel. So if I were to do this phrase again, that's a glottal attack. It would be good to avoid those entirely in your vocalizations, in your practices here with my videos or whatever videos you're using or stuff like that. Just avoid the glottal attack. The easiest way to do this is to insert an H in front of it. So in your mind, if you're singing E, A, ah, he, you can hear the H there. He, A, ah. And then minimize it as much as you can. This may be a process that takes days or weeks, right? You might start with he, and then over time, he, ah, or maybe it'll work immediately. That would be great too. But at any rate, try to avoid glottal attacks. In your practice, another pitfall that frequently I hear, and this is a tough one because so much of singing technique is about getting to the higher notes, and probably a very good, very high percentage of my videos are about singing over the secondo passaggio, singing over the break. But my advice to you is that if you haven't worked on your registration event practice, I would just stick to the comfortable range of your voice and then gently expand outwards from there. As your vowel alignment gets better and better, then you can integrate a registration event practice into your practice regimen, and then that will mean that you will eventually be able to extend the continuity of your voice over that registration event effectively. But most importantly, it gives you choice in how you go about doing that. For example, if I only ever learn to pull my chest voice or squeeze out the high notes, I am limiting myself to what I can do in the upper register of my voice. But if I take time to align my vowels, develop an apagio breath management system, and then work on my registration event, so where I'm singing back and forth across my break, and I am in fact changing registers when I do that. I'm going from my chest voice to my head voice. But having learned to do that, I can choose maybe instead if I want maybe more of that like kind of cold play, very, very popular kind of upper register sound, I can choose to do that. If I want something that's more aggressive, I can do that too. But the point is that when you learn to make a good transition, then you get to choose what you're going to do there. And this fuels your artistry. It facilitates a greater amount of color and emotion that you can bring to the songs that you are singing. And I suppose all of that is another way to say, take your time. And that is perhaps the overarching advice that I would give. Not something necessarily to avoid, but it's something to do. Take your time. Being a musician is a lifetime process. It's not like we necessarily arrive someplace, though I think it can sometimes feel that way. But for the most part, there's always something more beyond what you've done thus far. Speaking for myself, that is certainly true. And maybe getting used to the process is what I'm really trying to say here, that we're all in a state of learning, in a state of getting a little bit better, expanding our emotive content, expanding our artistry, expanding our technical palette. Take your time. I do hope that helps. Great question. Thank you if you've chosen to subscribe, and a big, big thank you to my Patreon supporters. I truly appreciate the support. Until next time, my name's Jeff. Take really good care of your voices, enjoy singing, and hopefully we'll see you again. Bye.